So today I'm going to discuss just a brief history of the U.S.-Saudi relationship, as it's important just to understand in the bigger context. So the United States recognized the sovereignty of Saudi Arabia in 1931. A couple years later, and I believe 1933, a bunch of the American oil companies that had expertise in hydrocarbon exploration went over and helped to form with the Saudis Saudi Aramco, Aramco standing for Arab American Company. And this helped Saudi to tap into its vast hydrocarbon reserves, which are some of the largest on the planet. And this made the country extremely wealthy. As prior to this, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia as an area was just extremely impoverished, as there's not a whole lot else there resource-wise. So this helped the relationship to flourish, particularly after the Second World War, with the Marshall Plan, which is where the U.S. helped to essentially rebuild all of Europe, which is mostly destroyed from all the bombing and whatnot. I mean, 75% of the oil for the Marshall Plan came from Saudi Arabia. So they've been very much aligned with our interests for a while now, for the most part. And especially in the 50s, there was a mutual defense agreement that was signed between the United States and Saudi Arabia, saying that we would come to their aid defense-wise. And this defense for oil has made up the vast majority of this symbiotic relationship throughout its history. So from Washington's view on Saudi Arabia will be a reliable energy partner, sourcing energy at a reliable iterations at an affordable cost. It's all about reliability for energy. From Riyadh looking towards Washington, it's all about Washington will, in exchange for this oil, they're going to come to our aid and give us munitions and help in our defense to protect our sovereignty. So it's all about being a reliable defense partner. So reliability for defense, reliability for oil. That's what the relationship's been based upon. And it's been largely symbiotic and to a large extent positive over the years. Though, of course, there has been some hiccups. If you recall, in the 70s, there was the OPEC oil embargo, where the OPEC members essentially said, we're not going to give you oil in the United States for your support of Israel. And then also there was a little hiccup during 9/11, as a lot of the people that ran the planes into the towers and some of the other buildings were of Saudi origin. Not to say that they had any ties to the Saudi government, but still, I mean, these were a couple strains over the years. But other than that, it's mostly been positive, though not every Washington administration has been seen as exactly the same by the eyes of the Saudis. And this is also important to note. So, for example, in Europe, the Barack Obama administration they're widely popular. In fact, it'd be hard to imagine a more popular American president in the eyes of the Europeans. This was not the case in Saudi Arabia. In fact, he was one of the most detested American presidents probably throughout the entire relationship, which is boggling to a lot of Americans, as they assume most everyone abroad appreciated Barack. And their main qualms of him was that he was very pro-human rights and dictating his expectations for human rights to those partners and adversaries, which Riyadh didn't like for a myriad of reasons. Additionally, you have to understand that Saudi Arabia's main historical enemy is Iran. And Barack Obama was key towards getting the JCPOA agreement, the nuclear agreement with Iran, that kind of ease sanctions, which made Saudi Arabia very nervous. So in their opinion, Barack sided with their main adversary, which didn't win him any positivity within the halls of Riyadh. And conversely, simultaneously, Biden, the current U.S. president, he was the vice president of Barack, so he is seen as having a lot of the same baggage as Barack, especially towards having those pro-Iran, or at least in the eyes of Saudi Arabia, ties. Americans might not see him as being pro-Iran, but the fact that he's willing to try to do a nuclear deal with Iran makes him pro-Iran in the eyes of many in the Saudi government, so they don't really like him. Not only that, Biden hasn't won any favors, as a big part of his campaign platform was to make Saudi Arabia a pariah state for various humanitarian rights means, which did not set off the relationship at a good starting point. So this you all have to keep in mind before we get to what's currently happening with the OPEC production cuts.